chapter 24. Please go ahead and be seated. Now on that same day that Jesus resurrected, 2 disciples were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them. Their eyes were kept from recognizing him, and he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while we walk along?" All of a sudden they stopped, and they looked sad. And one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you like the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place?" He asked them, "What things?" And they replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel." Yes, and besides all this, it's now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning. When they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb, found it just as the woman had said. They did not see him. Then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, Jesus interpreted to them things about himself and all the scriptures. As they came near to the village which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it's almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while we were talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem. And they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. And they were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road and how they had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. The gospel of our Lord. This story is the story of 2 of the disciples, not the apostles, on the road to Emmaus, and how they encountered Jesus on that very first Easter evening. Why don't we go ahead and we have a couple of old friends that have come back, and they're going to explain and kind of retell some of the observations, the experiences they had on that road. Go ahead and run the video.
I'll tell the story. I remember it like it was yesterday.
You don't even know what you had for lunch yesterday.
I do too. I had. Why don't you tell the story?
All right, I'll tell the story.
Oh, I hate the way you tell the story. I'll tell the story. So there we were. It was the worst weekend of our life.
Jesus had been crucified.
He'd been placed in the tomb.
And we were all in the upper room, and we were very, very scared.
Oh, very scared and very nervous. Nervous as a pair of long-tailed cats in a room full of rockers.
Now, just to clarify, there were no cats and there were no rocking chairs.
I was speaking metaphorically.
Well, you need to be more clear. I need you to be more clear.
So anyway, it was chaos inside, and then there was chaos outside.
And it was Mary, and she was off in the distance, and she was yelling frantically.
Yes, and then the doors bust open, and she's shouting at the top of her lungs, "He's alive! He's alive!" Now Mary.
Sweet Mary, salt of the earth.
Salt of the earth, that woman. But sometimes she gets...
Well, she just gets a little confused.
To say the least. I remember I said to you, I bet she went to the wrong tomb.
It was just such chaos, and so we decided that we'd go back to our homes.
Right. So we started back home. It's about a 7-mile walk on the road to Emmaus.
And we're walking and talking.
Talking and walking.
Then all of a sudden, this man comes up behind us.
Yes, I remember. He looked at us and he said, why the long faces?
And I looked at him and I said, that's just how we're made. We can't help it. And if you do not like it...
The man was speaking metaphorically.
Well, I needed him just to be clear. He wasn't clear.
We said to him...
Oh, well, I said to him, I said, are you the only person in Jerusalem that hasn't heard just what has happened?
Right, and I said to him, Jesus had been crucified, we placed him in the tomb, now we can't find his body.
And I went on to say we were just horribly disappointed because we thought Jesus was the one.
And he says, why are your heads so big? Why are your hearts so slow?
And I looked at him right in the eye and I said, we're just getting older. We cannot help it. There's nothing we can do.
The man was speaking metaphorically.
I just needed him to be clear.
Then he looked at us. And he started at the beginning with the books of Moses and all through the prophets and explained to us how the scriptures said this would happen to the Messiah.
It was wonderful.
It was amazing. We came to a fork in the road.
Just to be clear, it wasn't a literal fork.
We came to a spot where the road divided. And I invited him to join us for dinner. I think he said yes because I told him my wife was making a cobbler.
She makes a great compliment.
That woman can cobbler. So we get here and we sit down for dinner.
And he blessed the meal, and he broke the bread.
And then
I looked at you,
and I looked at you.
and we knew
Our hearts, they were burning inside of us.
we were sitting with the Messiah.
We were sitting at the table with the risen Savior.
And then both of us, we turned to face him, and
He was gone.
vanished. I never get tired of telling that story.
I may not remember what I had for lunch, but I'll never forget that story.
Tell that story.
Well, aren't you a regular Bobby Fischer?
King me.
I'm not going to king you.
King me.
I'm not going to king you.
King me.
Oh, king.
That's a good story.
I'm not going to tell that story.
That one to you, Luke. That's a good story.
The story of an old man who cheats at checkers to feel better about
I'm
himself.
not clarifying that at all. I just want to look at right there. That's a winner right there. That's a good story. That would be the title of the book, A Winner.
You are a winner.
I am a winner.
I'm speaking metaphor.
Why don't you keep reading?
The story of two disciples who are traveling on the road to Emmaus. I love this story. I love this story largely because of the honesty that we encounter in the scriptures. There's these two followers of Jesus, incredibly dedicated people, and they're going, and Jesus all of a sudden is with them, walking alongside them. He's resurrected, and he's with them, and they don't even recognize him. The key verse in this story is verse 21, where it says, when they're retelling Jesus, because they can't believe this guy, this stranger, doesn't know what has happened, but they're telling the story, and they get to the part when they say, but we had hoped that he would have been the one to redeem Israel. They've been crushed. They're disappointed. They had placed all their hopes in Jesus, and from all that they could see, it had been misplaced. Jesus wasn't who he said he was. He just simply a victim of the violence of the day. And their disappointment is just real, and they wear it on their sleeves, and they're not afraid to even give voice to it. But the interesting thing is that their disappointment and their despair stops them from being able to recognize that Jesus really has. They've even by their fall, by the women that Jesus is risen from the dead. But they can't believe it. And so their own disappointment, how things have turned out, prevents them from seeing God's very presence with them. Now, this is not an uncommon story. In fact, it's a story that we encounter many times throughout the Bible. It's the story about how we have plans and how we're dedicated and devoted to them in our heads and in our hearts. And when those plans don't come the way that we feel they ought to, a tremendous disappointment settles into our hearts and into our minds. And it kind of stifles our ability to have joy and to be surprised and to see and encounter God's presence in our lives. Leo Tolstoy, the famous Russian author, tells the story about when he was 7 years old, he was so convinced that God had told him that he was going to fly that he actually jumped headfirst out of a third-story window. And he survived the fall, and he was incredibly disappointed, and he made a vow of commitment just to give up on God, because God wasn't there for him. But eventually he grew out of that, and he did come to encounter God. Sometimes we're mistaken in our beliefs, just like that little boy. But sometimes our disappointment is not as whimsical or as foolish as that. Sometimes it's a deeply set-in pain. Daniel Holmes was a Presbyterian minister who, him and his wife had a precious, their daughter was about 5 or 6 years old, and she had developed cancer, leukemia. And so they prayed and prayed for her, and they were convinced that God was going to save her, that God was going to heal her, and that she would grow, and they would be able to spend a tremendous amount of time with her. And then she died. And disappointment and despair settled into his heart. He started to ask the question, God, where were you? Why weren't you there? Why didn't you heal our daughter like you promised? He began to interview his members of his congregation, because as he wrestled with his own disappointment and despair, he wanted to know whether or not members of his congregation were also feeling the same way. And so as he interviewed them, he discovered that many of them had stories where they had believed in God and trusted in God, only to be let down and disappointed, and how they just kind of moved on and kept living, but their relationship with God hit a stumbling point, at a point where it just seemed to not be able to grow beyond them. These are common stories. In fact, Daniel, this pastor, as he gathered all these stories in his congregation, he eventually writes a book that's called Your God is Too Big. And what he meant by that, what the book unfolds, the story, is that we tend to focus on the big miraculous stories of God. The things where God does, those wow, incredible things, right? Raises Lazarus from the dead, and he heals a leper, and those kinds of things. But as you read through the stories of Jesus, you will see that people, and throughout the entire Scripture, are often struggling with disappointment and despair just as much as they are awed by the things that God is doing. You see, disappointment is a common thing. As I was writing out my takeaways for this passage, I wrote out how disappointment and despair can stifle our joy and surprise. And as I wrote that, I thought, that sounds really familiar. Where did I read that before? So I started looking back at my list of all the takeaways. Today, actually, celebrates 3 years I've been at Alpine. And I looked back and I read through all the takeaways. And on 6 different occasions, I've used this takeaway. And it shocked me. I can't believe I used the same takeaway. How embarrassing. In fact, I went back and looked at my very first sermon that I preached there at Alpine. Guess what the takeaway was? God, despair, and disappointment tend to stifle out our joy and surprise. In some shape or form, that takeaway I've used over and over again. And I asked myself, why? And the reason is because we encounter this event in Scripture all the time. We tend to, as people, latch on to our hopes and our dreams. And when our dreams get dashed, we tend to become cynical. We get disappointed. And we give in to that disappointment, and we allow it to consume us. And when it does, we become just like these disciples on the road to Emmaus. We're walking down the road, and God is right there next to us, and we can't even see or recognize the presence of God. God is doing wondrous things, yet we're blind to it. because disappointment and despair has taken hold of us and has crippled and sucked the life out of our faith. So what do we do? Is this it? Is this what life with God is like? Well, one of the things in the powerful moments of this story is that as the two disciples are walking, they come to a fork in the road, and they can either turn and go into the village and go home, or they can keep going on to whatever the next village is. And Jesus is about to go on to the next village, and for some reason they decide, hey, why don't you, it's getting late, why don't you come spend the night with us? Why don't you have a meal with us? It's a long road. And so Jesus accepts, and he goes in, and just as Jesus is taking, at some point in the meal, he takes up some bread, and he prays, and then he breaks it. And the moment he does that, all of a sudden then, they see, they understand. And it's in this breaking of the bread that they're able to once again find and discover joy in their faith and to see that God is really among them. And so, as I read this story, I get excited about this. Because many of us get stuck in this point where we don't feel like God is very close. We don't feel like God is answering our prayers. And we're desperate for something. And that's something that to help us, God has already given to us. And it's something that we celebrate every single Sunday. Problem is that sometimes when we encounter communion that we do, we break the bread and we celebrate, we have a kind of, well, how should I say it? Our view of communion is a little bit off sometimes. And let me explain to you this way. I have an anniversary coming up, and like every dutiful husband, I'm starting to think, okay, what am I going to get my wife for my anniversary, right? And I'll be honest with you, and some of you folks, men and women, you're in my boat, and you're just like me, and you can feel free to admit it, we're not. But you're like, okay, I know the anniversary is coming up. I guess it's something special. I know that I got to observe it. I got to get my wife a card and a gift and something like that, right? I got to remember it, right? To be honest with you, if we didn't do anything of it, I probably wouldn't even think of it. But it's important to my wife, so it's important to me, so I got to do it, right? Sometimes we think of communion that same way. We come to it and we think, okay, Jesus, he paid a big price for us, and we come here, we got to observe it, we got to say thank you, we got to give him a card, we got to do something to honor the occasion, right? Or else it's like rude, it's inappropriate. And that's our attitude towards communion. We think we're doing this for Jesus' sake, to say thank you, or to somehow observe, so let the world know that Jesus did something big, because it would just be rude to ignore it. That's not the case at all. Communion is about, it comes from the word community. It's about us coming together and encountering the real presence of Christ in our lives, of taking our eyes off of our own despair and disappointment and turning them to God so that we can be both spiritually nourished, so that our eyes can be opened. Communion is a sacrament, and if you know what a sacrament is, it comes from the word mystery. It's a word we made up and chose because there's something mysterious about communion, about sacraments, about communion baptism, because something takes place that we cannot fully describe with our words. Our theology will always fall short of trying to explain what exactly happens with communion. But Martin Luther said it this way: just know, when you come forward and you take the bread and you drink that wine, you are encountering in a very real and solid form the alive and risen Messiah. And by encountering him, your life changes. That's the promise that we have. That's why we go forward in faith every week, so that our eyes can be opened, so that we can turn and see the community of people who are just like us, who struggle with disappointment and despair, who have a difficulty sometimes in trusting in God and in each other, who have the same hiccups and hang-ups and ability to be angry and irritable that we have and that we struggle with. We gather together as a community so we can encounter Christ, so our eyes can be open, so that we can see God's presence really is among us. Because if we don't gather together in community, and we don't take the bread and the wine, and we don't encounter Christ, what happens is we tend to be like those disciples on the road to Emmaus, and we're just walking along, long, yet they don't bother to invite Jesus into their home. Jesus goes on, and the despair and the disappointment grows and grows and grows. How do you break away from that cycle? Well, the first step is just to come and in faith receive communion and say, I'm encountering you, Jesus. I need you to touch me. I need you to open my eyes. That's how we begin. And then the second thing, and this is great, what do the disciples do after Jesus leaves? It's late at night. It's dangerous to walk on that road. Yet they cannot help themselves. They cannot wait till the morning to go back to Jerusalem and to tell the disciples what has happened, to tell everyone what has happened. So they immediately get on the road and they go back. They encounter danger. They go into the dark night because their joy cannot be contained. It cannot be just packaged up and put away until the morning. It has to be expressed. And they have to connect with other people. And so they will not wait until next Sunday morning when they happen to come together and meet and sit in the pews. They're going to go right away and go. They're going to proclaim, Jesus has risen. Come on, Jesus. Jesus has risen. Jesus has risen. That's what's so special about this story. Is that despite the things that have gone wrong, Jesus is still reaching out to them, wanting them to encounter Him as they walk along in life, as they take the bread and the wine, and the response is to let the joy flow. Amen? Amen. Our first takeaway today is that one that I've had 6 times in the last 3 years. Despair and disappointment can stifle and surprise our joy. We just simply need to recognize that that is the truth. We cannot give in to our despair. We cannot give in to our disappointment, even though those are very real emotions. And so Jesus stays with them. Go to the next one. This is how we respond. Jesus stays with them, one in the broken pieces of the bread and with each other. We allow to take that step in faith to come to receive communion and to allow our joy to flow and to express it to those around us. Let's stand for our song of the day.